Hello, it's me, Thought Sorkin, and unfortunately, in order to talk about what I want to talk about today, I have to also talk about the West Wing. Now, normally, I try to shield you from upsetting things like that, but in this case, it simply couldn't be helped. I'm deeply sorry. For those of you that don't know, The West Wing was a prestige drama about the inner workings of the White House under the imaginary Democratic cabinet of President Joseph Bartlet. Liberals love The West Wing because it presents a very comforting illusion that the world is controlled by extremely competent people. The rules, such as they are the result of extremely smart people deliberating and coming to informed, meaningful consensus. The world of The West Wing is fundamentally meritocratic. People gain power and influence based on how intelligent and erudite they are. And those who can't keep up are punished and humiliated publicly when they step out of line. There is no dysfunction in government. Everything that happens is the result of highly complex maneuverings, themselves the products of a Socratic dialogue where the sharpest minds on both sides of the aisle duke it out in the marketplace of ideas. And whoever proves themselves smarter inevitably and invariably wins. Anyone who thinks that the system isn't working, or at least isn't working in the interests of the people, is a rube who doesn't understand the grand design. The system can't fail. We can only fail the system by not articulating its virtues clearly enough. Conflict is resolved through argument. And the argument is always won by the person with more facts and verbal flourish. A very flattering worldview for writers, I guess. In The West Wing, or really in anything written by Aaron Sorkin, when someone beats you in an argument, you don't just tell them like, go fuck you, bud. You just sit there awestruck. By the courtly rules, you have been cowed into silence and must accept your shame. Nobody ever just like lies or stoops to insults. They just get sad and they look at the floor and they're like, "Aw, shucks. Sorry, logic daddy." Take, for example, this, the most notoriously bad scene in the show's entire run. To set the stage here, Toby Ziegler, the White House communications director, is tasked with going to see a protest at the World Trade Organization for some boring reason that I don't remember and the wiki does not explain. Now, Toby, you have to understand, he's a bit prickly, but he's real smart, just a big ol' egghead. One of the smartest guys, whoo boy, let me tell you. And he sees all these radicals, these dummies, calling into question fair trade, a system that superior minds have decided is necessary, and he doesn't like that one bit. They don't get to question him. They're not as smart. Intelligence is real, and he has it, and they don't. And he delivers the following stunningly shitty speech.
It's activist vacation is what it is. Spring break for anarchist wannabes. Oh, black t-shirts, the gas mask is fashion accessories.
These kids today with the hair and the clothes.
Usually, at a protest, activists don't wear gas masks as a fashion accessory. They wear them because the police, like the one you're having a cheerful little conversation with, respond to lawful protest with tear gas and pepper spray, chemical weapons banned in warfare by international law. A gas mask is actually pretty helpful in that situation, Tobes, because it protects you from those chemical weapons that are used on your face. Like, for example, when people in real life protest the World Trade Organization, they tend to get tear gassed. Like, that happens a lot. And I have no idea what an anarchist wannabe is. Nobody wants to be an anarchist, Toby. Everybody hates us. Evidently, it has something to do with wearing black t-shirts, which I thought was just like a normal thing to wear, but I guess it's an anarchist thing now. I think maybe this is meant to be a reference to Black Bloc, but I doubt that Sorkin knew what that was in 1998. But in case that is a reference to Black Bloc, that once again, not a fashion accessory, it's so that fascists can't track you down and threaten your family afterwards, is why they do that.
The benefits of free trade. Food is cheaper.
Yes.
Food is cheaper. Clothes are cheaper, steel is cheaper, cars are cheaper, phone service is cheaper. You feel me building a rhythm here? That's because I'm a speechwriter and I know how to make a point.
Cheaper for whom? I live in the country with literally the highest mobile phone rates on Earth. India is the cheapest, for the record. Canada and India both became members of the World Trade Organization in 1995. And so, when's that benefit coming our way, pal? Seems kind of like free trade doesn't make phone service cheaper. Like, how would that work? Do you think that we're just inviting workers from other countries to come in and cheaply build our phone infrastructure? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's also a lot of evidence that free trade makes food insecurity in the developing world way worse. I guess the question you might have to grapple with here is Is it worth creating more starvation for the poorest people on Earth so that you can get cheaper Big Macs at home? I would argue probably not.
Toby.
It lowers prices, it raises income. You see what I did with lowers and raises there?
Yeah.
It's called the science of listener attention. We did repetition, we did floating opposites.
Yes, I see what you did there, Toby. Do you? Do you see it, audience? It's fun. See, because he framed those two things side by side, so it seems like they apply to the same people. You get lower prices, and it therefore stands to reason, based on the way he constructed the sentence, that you'll also receive that higher income he's talking about. See how that works? See how that's phrased and positioned in the sentence? But in reality, you might get some lower prices, but the raised income goes towards big companies and the World Trade Organization itself. You think H&M is passing on savings they get from exploiting child labor in third world countries to their employees? Or are they just giving it to their shareholders? And it certainly isn't the people in poorer countries getting more income, because the whole structure relies on them being underpaid. It creates a perverse incentive where large, powerful countries are encouraged to apply pressure on poorer countries to keep their labor standards shitty and cheap. And that also means that employers in your country don't have to do much better, because if their employees get too uppity, they can just move operations overseas where they're allowed to hire death squads to kill labor organizers.
Now you end with the one that's not like the others. Ready? Free trade stops wars. And that's it. Free trade stops wars. And we figure out a way to fix the rest. One world, one peace. I'm sure I've seen that on a sign somewhere.
Free trade stops wars, which is why there haven't been any wars since the rise of globalization. You'll notice complete world peace has been achieved. I couldn't find a clip of it, but the cop he's talking to goes on to say, boy, I wish someone would say that to them. And she points at the protesters. And then later, Toby's in a real good mood and he tells his coworkers how he just demolished these dum-dums. And he had a big debate with them and they couldn't keep up because of his big smart brain. Told him what he fucking owned them, and they just had to sit there and take it because their ideas lack substance. You know, so you don't even have to see how it happens. It all happens off screen. You don't need the details. There's no possible counter argument to what Toby's saying that anyone could articulate at all. Now, it's not usually that bad, but it's always like that. The wrong people come around and say wrong, dumb stuff, and then the big smart boys speak very quickly at them until they go away. Intelligence, which you have to understand completely exists and is observable by how well someone speaks, is rewarded. Ignorance, which is measurable by how unseriously a person takes norms and decorum, is punished, and then the person displaying it is banished. Within the world of the West Wing, in order to succeed politically, you have to commit to understanding and abiding the way things are done. You can only effect change according to the Byzantine code of honor that everyone has de facto agreed to. You must approach discussion in good faith, or you will be eviscerated by those who do. There is a fixation on the process. Things are done a certain way for important reasons, and anyone who doesn't understand that is a fool or a dangerous manipulator. But ultimately, don't worry, they're too simple-minded to be any kind of real threat. If they were big-brain smarties, they would follow the process. It's the only thing that works. The process goes like this. Firstly, all of the rules, laws, common wisdom, and norms of government are incontrovertible. You behave, speak, and look like someone in the political sphere, or you shouldn't be taken seriously and will not be taken seriously. Secondly, everyone is informed on any matter they discuss and will accept, without question or pushback, the weight of evidence, whether it benefits their argument or not. Thirdly, in the event that consensus can't be reached, both parties must compromise until they each feel satisfied. Refusing to compromise is essentially political suicide. The process is sacred. The process will inevitably lead to the best possible results. Therefore, anyone attempting to change or disregard the process is either too dumb to understand why it works the way it does, or is cheating. We are the inheritors of a self-correcting, perfect structure, and it is our duty to champion its use until it's had time to create a more perfect world. The actual results of the process are irrelevant. If the process arrived at these results, they must be the best results. If bad results are achieved, it's probably because the process was not correctly observed or respected. Critically, it is assumed that anyone with any real political power 100% believes this and is willing to lose any policy dispute if it means protecting the process. Now, nobody is naive enough to believe that people in the upper echelons of power actually behave like this. But a truly frightening amount of people seem to believe that they A, ought to, and therefore B, can. The West Wing didn't invent this outlook. It is the nominal outlook of the entire liberal political class and all liberal pundits. I don't know if liberal politicians believe it, who can say what any politician believes, politicians lie about everything, but they certainly act as though they believe it, which inclines me to believe that they do. Remember when Michelle Obama said, "When they go low, we go high"? That was a commitment to obeying the process, an affirmation that adhering to the process will lead to victory, because the American people will respect their resolve. They don't need a knockdown, drag-out fight, they just need to follow the process. Recently, Nancy Pelosi talked about how Republicans would get their asses kicked at the polls if they tried to push through the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. And that seems weirdly contradictory to me, because why would Republicans be turned off by the appointment of a conservative judge to the Supreme Court? Because it violates the norm they established in the previous election? And I mean, if you assume that they're committed to a fair and equitable process rather than getting the things that they want, that assumption makes sense, I guess. This is the fundamental flaw with the process. It requires that everyone play along. Anyone who violates the process, decides to lie or deny the weight of evidence, or refuses to compromise, will get an immediate advantage. All the respect paid to the process makes subverting it trivial, because people are trained to just accept that whatever being said must be true, or at least have some basis in truth, or else the person saying it would never be able to get away with it. If they get caught out in a lie, watch out. That's it. It's curtains for you. Trump, you're done for. The Washington Post gave you 5 Pinocchios. Good luck coming back from that one. And I don't necessarily blame rank and file liberals for this. I blame the political class, the people who set the narrative, not the people who follow it. I think most non-mind-poisoned liberals want their policies to be enacted more than they care about decorum or whatever. I don't place the blame on your quirky aunt who just wears an "I'm with her" shirt to Whole Foods and has a bumper sticker that says "This pussy grabs back." That aunt might not agree with a lot of my views, but it sounds like she still kinda rules. Cool aunt. You got a slime-certified cool aunt. The problem here is the ideology of the technocratic elite. People who think that they're so savvy and so intimately familiar with all the wonky bullshit you need to know to be a real serious political thinker that they can't possibly be outmaneuvered. The people that have convinced themselves that strict observance of these norms is just how serious people behave, and nobody will stand for anything less. And then they get really flustered when the other side openly flouts the rules, when they're stonewalled, and no matter how hard they compromise, the other side refuses to move an inch. That isn't how we do things. When they can present facts for their case, and the other side either lies or just ignores them, or funds a policy think tank to manufacture more convenient alternative facts. Boy, it didn't used to be like this. Remember Ronald Reagan? He followed the process. This is why everyone was so unprepared for Donald Trump. That's the weakness he exploits. Trump does not recognize or value the process. He has no illusions about needing to be perceived as acting in the greater good. The idea of losing a policy dispute to maintain a healthy democracy is unthinkable to him. The goal isn't to compromise until everyone is satisfied, to create a dialogue between right and left where the best ideas from both emerge victorious. The goal for him is to win at all costs. His whole worldview is based around the idea of being this amazing deal guy, the guy who gets his opponent to agree to terms that benefit him more than them. In other words, not to compromise, but rather to dominate. See also Mitch McConnell, the guy in the stately and respectable position of Senate Majority Leader. He must use his power responsibly and with respect for the rules of the Constitution. And if he doesn't, oh boy, you're out of here, pal. You're going to block the appointment of a liberal Supreme Court justice, but fast-track the appointment of a conservative one? Okay. People won't stand for that. People hate winning for the wrong reasons. They'd rather lose for the right reasons. You're going to learn that lesson the hard way. Na 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 na, na 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 na, hey hey, goodbye. Sing it with me, everybody. Everybody? Did you watch Chris Wallace just chuckling along as Donald Trump flouted the rules of the debate with Joe Biden? That seems feckless to me, like, because his whole job as moderator is to stop that from happening. But in Wallace's mind, he probably thought, wow, this guy's really shooting himself in the foot. People are going to hate how he refuses to play by the rules and just says his points. Okay, sir, you can use your little sound bites. Let's see where that gets you. They think that this is a position of strength. They see someone flout the rules and they think, well, he stepped in it this time. We got him. You see, if the process works, which it must, it just has to, because otherwise the whole world has been in a state of chaos for centuries, and the people who rule us actually aren't better than us, they're just whoever has money or power, and that just can't be true. So the process must work. Then if you obey the process while your opponents do not, you'll win. And sometimes they do win. That, of course they do sometimes. This was essentially Justin Trudeau's whole electoral strategy in both elections. And it paid off for him. He was elected twice despite being a nothing person. Just because he's a very polite, empty suit. When the cameras are on him, anyway. I think that valuing systems over the results those systems produce, even if those systems produce good results, leads you to become inflexible. I think that assuming that politics is some honorable back and forth, a game with established and inviolable rules, means committing yourself to a standard that your opponents will not. And that gives them the advantage against you. In reality, politics is the application of power. If there's a method to get what you want, but that method is forbidden, some people will choose that method. Actually, especially if it's forbidden, because that way they know you won't use it likewise against them. If you don't have a plan to stop them, beyond simply pointing out that that isn't done, sir, wait till the electorate hears about this, and hoping everyone else agrees with you, you're going to be in trouble. Trump doesn't care that it's unconstitutional to refuse to abdicate power in the event that he loses the election, which he likely will. But if he doesn't, then YouTube criminal Big Joel will owe me 6 crisp American dollars, which I intend to collect. He doesn't care that it's dangerous to tell the Proud Boys to stand by and go and intimidate people at voting booths. He doesn't care when he's lying or ignoring evidence of climate change. And I think it's a big mistake to assume that the people who like him care either. What they like is that he and people like him are fighting outside the process to achieve their policy goals. To them, it feels like someone cutting through the bullshit. And if you're expecting these methods to backfire and for people to be repulsed by them, I think you're in for a nasty shock. This is why it's important for activists to do things outside of electoral politics. To protest, to distribute goods, to educate, to organize, to defend our communities from the fascist creep with force when necessary. No matter how much finger-wagging and tut-tutting we get from the establishment, no matter how much gormless rubes pretend that it means we're giving ground in a battle of optics, the process is incapable of dealing with anything except for the process. The right has figured that out, and the center still thinks everyone's using the same playbook. Now, I don't want to give you the wrong idea. I don't want to make it sound like I'm against submitting to a process when you can't see it and don't understand it, whose goals seem inscrutable and destructive to you. Because in the far, far reaches of our skulls, there live our guides in such a process. And if you listen, you can hear them chittering, speaking in the secret code that instructs us all. Hello and welcome to the Eyeball Zone. Here in the Eyeball Zone, small leftist projects come willingly to us, like lambs to the slaughter. Hey, you ever watch a video and you just let out a long sigh of relief, like you didn't know how badly you needed to hear someone say something until you heard them say it? And then you hear them say it and you're like, oh man, I've been carrying around some damage. I felt that way about Ryan Hibbs' video, Why Grading is Capitalist Propaganda. I was someone that got terrible grades in school, until the very day I was allowed to pick my own courses, and suddenly I became an honor student. The injustice of having some useless number reflecting my knowledge on subjects I didn't care about and had no interest in pursuing, deciding huge portions of how my life would proceed, always stung. Turns out I was right to be mad. Ryan's a former teacher who quit the profession because he hated grading so much, so go listen to him explain why. Maybe you'll realize you internalized some bullshit about yourself too. And maybe you'll realize that this dovetails kind of with the idea that the people in charge of us just have to be smarter than us and have to have reasons for the things they do. I give this video an A+. Do you have a small leftist project you would abandon to the mercy of the eyeballs? Send no more than one email to thoughtslimeeditor@gmail.com with the word eyeballs in the subject line and pertinent details like your pronouns, and perhaps you will find yourself trapped here in the eyeball zone. Oh, also, I know that the president in the West Wing is named Josiah Bartlett. I said Joseph earlier to troll West Wing fans. That's one of the few pleasures still available to me in these bleak times. Hey, thanks for watching the video. You know what would be great? You know what would just be swell? Is if you hit like and subscribe. Those things are free to do. Nobody's gonna take your money if you do that. But if you want someone to come around and take your money every month, you can get that at patreon.com/thoughtslime. And I think I've made a pretty compelling case for that. You can see all the little drawings I did of people who did that scrolling by in the background. If you want to see more videos from me, you can go to youtube.com/scaredycatstv, where I talk about horror movies, or the Mega Slime Entertainment Zone at youtube.com/Megaslime Entertainment Zone, where I play video games. I'm going to start uploading Spelunky 2 very soon. Stay tuned on that one. I also live stream every 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays on YouTube and Twitch, so you can check that out. And also, that's I didn't have an exit strategy for where this sentence was going to go. So, what else do I want you to do? Make sure to wash your hands. It's a pandemic going on. I'm the only one brave enough to talk about that, but it's still happening. Don't drink and drive. Please don't do that. That's if that's something you were going to do later, cut it out. Recycle, please. It's good to recycle.